Right, there you go. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. My name is Andrew Patricio, and for the last 25 or so years, I've been educating and training business owners. And what I'm going to share with you today is how do we grow our business? How do we scale our business? Let's say you've been running your business for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, doesn't matter what the amount of time is. How do you take your business to the next level? And what I'm going to share with you today are some really simple tactics and simple exercises that every one of us need to do so that we can grow our business. So let's start at the beginning. One of the things you've got to think about as a business owner, and it really doesn't matter what stage your business is at, is ultimately, what is your goal? Is your objective to sell your business? Is your objective to hand it to your family? Is your objective to grow it internationally? Whatever it is, it's going to influence the growth of your business going forward. So as a business owner, you need to think about this. And I think a lot of us don't think about this. We don't think about this because what we're doing is we're running our businesses. That's what we're doing. We're running our businesses. We're trying to survive, trying to keep the cash flow going and things like that. So we don't think about the ultimate goal of our business. But I want you to think about that. I want you to think about, what are you going to do with this business one day? And that really helps you, because let's use an example. Let's say you say to me, Andrew, one day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to my kids, or one day I'm going to sell it to my competitors, or one day I'm going to scale it internationally. Whatever the ultimate goal is, you then start creating a plan around it. So if your goal is to grow to different cities or to different countries or whatever it is, then you have to create a plan to achieve that. And it's really important that you understand that, because I think the first 3 to 5 years of our business, most of us are just winging it. We're just winging it, we're surviving, we're getting through things. And usually when we get to year 3 or year 5, we realize that we have a business that has potential to grow or not to grow. Some of us will give up halfway, others will keep doing it. In the case of BizLaunch, I mean, this is our 19th year. And every time I think back on what we've done over 19 years, we've reinvented ourselves so many times over the years. We've reinvented our business model and changed direction. And I think that's the reason we're still in business. Otherwise, probably, if we had not changed, if we had not adapted, if we had not been creative, we would not be in business. I think that's a really key thing that you need to understand, is that if you want to survive, you've got to make sure that you adapt as the economy changes and adapts. And then the other thing you want to do is, let's say, for example, your goal is to make $1 million of revenue, or your goal is to have 100 employees, or your goal is to sell to your competitors. The next thing you want to do is you want to track your progress. And basically, I don't like using these fancy words, but it's setting yourself KPIs or targets or benchmarks or something. And then as you go along, working out how far you are. And it's almost like, I don't know if any of you do this, but I do this. And I've done this for years, probably read it in a book somewhere. But I have a balance sheet of all my assets and all my liabilities. So all the things that I own and all the things that I owe. And it's been really interesting as a business owner, because some years I make a really good profit in my business, and other years don't make so much profit. But the way I track progress, or the way I track success, or the way the wealth I generated, is with my balance sheet. So that's my way of doing it. It's a really simple way, but it works for me. How are you doing? Go look at your balance sheet. What do you own? What do you owe? And those are the type of things. Obviously, the only thing in life is not the assets you've accumulated or the money you've accumulated or anything like that. But I think it's one of those things. For me, what's more important, especially as I get older, is things like legacy and things like my family and things like traveling and working on projects that are interesting and could change the world. For example, I'm working on something really interesting that I'm struggling with, interestingly enough, at the moment. And I think the reason I'm struggling with it is I'm getting pushback from the people I'm trying to work with because this is quite innovative, it's quite different. Anyway, so I've been working in Portugal, and one of the ideas I've had is to teach young people in high school financial management. So really how to manage their own money, how to understand when to buy things, what to buy, should I buy real estate, should I invest my money, those type of things. And I think it's a brilliant idea. What I realized is that when you work with different people, they have different ideas of what should be done and things like that. And my logic was really simple. I said, let's start with really simple content. I'll just record something on my computer, and then we'll put it out there and we'll see what the young people say. Do they like it or don't like it? And then we can develop it from there. And that hasn't worked so far. I know I'll get the model right eventually, but the key thing here is you've got to decide for yourself what is important for you at different stages of your life. So the other thing that I've always done, and again, it's one of those things that I read in a book many years ago. When I first started this business, I was trying to educate myself as much as possible. And still, behind me, you'll see a little bit of my books. And next door, I've got a library. And I'm always trying to educate myself to see if there's something that I can do better in whatever I do. And one of the things that I learned early on in my business was the importance of having a clear vision, importance of having a clear idea of what you want to create. And for those of us that are dreamers, it's really helpful, because I know when I first started BizLaunch, so I moved to Canada and I decided I was going to run BizLaunch. I remember this friend of mine, he said to me, Andrew, you know what, if I was you, I would get some local Canadian experience before you open your business. And I said, no. And he said, you are crazy. And I said, I know. Anyway, the point was that I had a very clear idea. I'd done my research, I'd traveled a bit, I'd seen what I thought small business owners need out there. And I'd created a model around that. And the model is basically not exactly what I've done for the last 18 or 19 years, but very, very close. I did not want to get out of assisting, training, advising business owners. That is the thing I wanted to do. I didn't want to coach people. I did not want to consult to them. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I had a very clear idea. I wanted to run training programs to show people what they needed to do to build a successful business. And then I would support them thereafter if they approached me about questions about their business and things like that. And that is exactly what I've been doing for the last 19 years. And over the years, at times people have approached me and said, will you coach me one-on-one or whatever it is? And my answer was always the same. And the answer was no. And, usually a polite no, maybe not so much in the beginning, but usually a polite no. But the reason was that was not my vision. And I think this is a really important thing, is that you've got to create an idea of the business you want to create. That doesn't mean you don't diverge or diversify or change direction every now and then. That is a very, very common thing, because you're going to get tempted. You're going to, for example, say, I want to build the best, chocolate chip cookies in my region. And then somebody's going to say to you, why don't you make bread, or why don't you make cherries, or whatever it is? And you will get distracted along the way. I promise you. And sometimes in a good way, but often in a really bad way. Because as a business owner, you want to be known for something. And it's really, really important that you get known for something. And I've seen this over the years, even in the case of our business, where we pitch on projects, we pitch on government projects, we pitch on regional or provincial projects, and people know what we do. There's no confusion about what BizLaunch does. We create content to educate business owners. So when people are looking for content to educate business owners, they'll often approach us. Does that mean we always get the projects? Absolutely not. And probably if we did, we wouldn't be able to survive. But really, when you've got a project, you want to educate business owners, you want to teach them how to grow their business online, we can create that content for you. We do a really good job, not perfect, we do a really good job, and we deliver on time. And that is really our value proposition. So as a business owner, you need to decide for yourself. And this is the exercise I would start off with. I would start off by sitting down with a pen and paper in a place that inspires and motivates you, and write down your perfect scenario. What does the perfect business look like for you? And I've had an interesting last year, in the sense that I've been looking for a new project to get involved in, really as not a profit project, just so you know, but a new project to work on. And the idea is to make a difference in the world. And it's really exciting to be able to work with that as a business owner. And I've got a clear idea of what I want to do. Will I achieve it? I'm not sure, because it doesn't only depend on me. But I believe that if I keep persevering, I will create something really good that could have an impact on economies globally. But the idea here is, whatever your vision is, it's got to be measurable, and it's got to be inspiring. And I think this is very, very important. It's got to be measurable and inspiring. At the beginning, you're not always sure if it's achievable. And I think I'm at that stage now. I'm not sure if this goal of mine is achievable. I mean, if I have my way, it will be achievable. But the problem is that you don't always have your way. But you know what? I believe that over the next 5 years, I'm going to develop something that is going to be really good, and it's going to influence the specific economy that I'm working with, which is one of my goals. But one of the things you've got to think about as a business owner is, this is 2022. So let's give yourself 5 years. In 2027 or 2026, the end of 2026 maybe, what big goal would inspire you? And I think this is very, very important, because I know every now and then I'll speak to people and they'll say to me, you know what, I'm not really a goal-setting type of person. And I'm going to tell you that I am a goal-setting type of person. That is the only thing that has kept me on track. Really the only thing. I always set myself targets, always set myself benchmarks. I often set myself goals that are very ambitious. But the interesting part is that often I achieve those. And it is crazy. And I think the only reason is because we set goals. And I think this is really important that every single one of us on this webinar, after this webinar today or tomorrow, I want you to sit down with a pen and paper, and I want you to write down your 5-year goals. And I would encourage you to think of all the different parts of your life, whether it's academic, whether it's business, whether it's financial, whether it's with your family, whether it's with, one of the things that I love doing is I love walking. I think I'm almost obsessed with walking is a better way of saying it. So nowadays, whenever I travel, my decisions will be influenced by, will there be a nice walk? And I like walking about 8 Ks a day. And the interesting thing is, if you had to see me in person, you'd say, no way do you walk 8 to 10 Ks a day. And that always fascinates me. But because, it doesn't matter that you're fit, that it's going to influence what you look like, which is always something that I find very interesting. But the idea here is you need to set goals in every single part of your life, every single part of your life. Because at the end of the day, achieving in business, making $1 million or $2 million or $5 million or 10 million and being miserable is not the objective. And because of my age, I've seen this many times. Many times through the years, I've met people that have built very, very successful businesses and messed up the rest of their lives. And I don't think that's a good decision. So this guy I've been walking with in the morning when I was in Portugal every day was a really interesting character, because he was one of those people that's been very, very successful and is well known and all that type of stuff. But it was the little things that he did that impressed me. The importance of his family, the importance of traveling, the importance of making a difference in the world. Those are the type of things that really impressed me about him, is that his goals were not only financial. And it's really interesting because, I mean, as a guy, he's achieved a lot of those things that people want to achieve. I mean, he drives really fancy cars. If anybody's a Ferrari enthusiast or anything like that, he drives one of those, and he's got a McLaren, he's got a beautiful home, and he's got places. But really his focus is on building a happy family, a great environment, traveling, and making a difference in the world. And for me, that was really impressive. And I think one of the reasons I really enjoyed these walks every morning. So here's an exercise I recommend every single one of you do in the next few days. And the sooner you do it, the better. Because what happens typically, we'll say things like, you know what, as soon as I have time, I'm going to work on this stuff. You don't have time. You know, time is one of those commodities that is running out. You don't have time. Today or tomorrow are the best days to work on these things. So what is your vision for your business? Where do you want your business to be in 5 years' time? What size do you want it to be? How many people do you want it to be employed? You know, those are the type of things you want to be thinking about. And then what do you want to be known for? You know, you want to be known for something. And it's really interesting, you know, that the most successful businesses that I've worked with, and when I define success, are people that are working in their business because they absolutely love it. You know, they've made money, they don't need to work. And I can think of quite a few examples of people that I know that have done that, but they still keep working. Why? Because that is their thing. They are doing their thing. Whatever that thing is, you want to be doing it. And I think that's the key to being, you know, content in life, is not only have you achieved your goals, but you've also, you know, done it in something that you love doing every single day. And then when you start setting goals, you want to be as specific as possible. For example, you might say that I want to make $1 million a year. And I mean, a lot of people that I've met over the years, that's their goal. They want to make $1 million. I don't know, 10 years ago, people wanted to make $1 million, and today they still want to make $1 million. You know, but the key thing is, I think that giving yourself a revenue target is a really good idea. And when I think about revenue targets, one of the first businesses I ran was a retail business. And I remember in the beginning, I don't know, let's say we used to make $10,000 a month. I don't even know what the figure was. I can't even remember. But let's say we used to make $10,000 a month. In those days, I used to think this was a lot of money. But eventually my business grew so much that I used to make $10,000 in a morning in this retail business. Obviously, we grew it really big and it kept growing and things like that. But I found that every single time we'd reach a target, let's say, I don't know, we did $100,000 a month. Then we'd set a target for 120, and then we'd get to 120, and then we'd realize, no, we can get to 150, and then we get to 150. And it's really, really interesting how much you can make. It is crazy. I mean, if you're a person that's making $30,000 or $50,000 of profit a year, I promise you the effort to make 100,000 or 200,000 is not that much different. What sometimes limits us is our belief, you know, and I found that when I first started in retail, what was limiting me was that I didn't think that, I thought 10,000 was the limit. That's exactly what I thought. I thought 10,000, that's the limit. That's probably the most we can make. And again, so I was creating these limiting beliefs, which is something that you've got to be very careful of, is that sometimes you are your own worst enemy. You set yourself such low targets because you don't believe you're worthy or whatever it is, or you have this imposter syndrome or whatever it is, these different things that hold us back as human beings. And one of the things I've realized is that the only thing that limits you is you and your imagination. And sometimes getting out of your head is the solution, because there are businesses out there that are doing it, and you can do the same thing. And early on in business, I always used to be surprised. You know, you'd go to, so because I was a retailer, you'd go to a small city or small town, and people would say, can you believe how much revenue this guy does? And you'd say, geez, there's so few people here. How does he make so much revenue? And I realized with a lot of these entrepreneurs is they believed they could do much more than they were doing. And I think that's what helped them. And I want you to understand that is the same thing with you and I, is that every single one of us on this webinar, including myself, could do much more than we're actually doing, much, much more. So when you set yourself goals, be realistic, but understand there's nothing stopping you from doing $100,000 a year, or 200,000, or 500,000, or a million, or 10, whatever it is. There's nothing stopping you. Usually you're your own worst enemy. The second thing you've got to focus on, which I think is really important, is your gross profit. And maybe that's your goal. Maybe you already have a reasonably successful business. You know, you're doing the revenue, but the profit's not enough. So there would be a goal you'd set, for example. So the more specific you are, the better it is. So you might say, in 2022, we want to do $1 million of revenue and $100,000 of profit. Very, very specific. Or we want to improve our customer satisfaction. Currently, we have 80% or 90% of our customers that are happy, and I want to get that to 95. So the more specific your targets are, the more specific your goals are, I think the better it is for you. And then what you want to do once a year is really analyze what's happening in your industry. And because I walk regularly, you know, I walk in our little village down the road, and I can see some of the changes taking place. I mean, a lot of changes have taken place. You know, some businesses have closed, others have opened, some have got bigger, some have got smaller, all these different things that take place as our businesses either grow or don't grow. And one of the things that I think is a very good idea as a business owner is every now and then you actually do your research. You know, you go and look at your situation. And sometimes we don't do that. You know, we are so involved in running our own business, or the word we use is we are so busy running our own business, and we don't get out there and see what other people are doing. And I think it's a very, very good idea to go and do research on that, to really understand, you know, what is going on in your industry. What are your competitors doing? You know, who are maybe new competitors that have come onto the market? Those are the type of things you want to really understand, because it's going to influence the way your business grows in the future. So you want to understand that. You maybe want to watch a couple of videos on YouTube about people predicting the future for your industry. Maybe you want to speak to a bunch of other business owners. These are the type of things you want to do. But you really got to understand your industry. And I find with our industry, which in mine is economic development, it has changed over time. And it has changed a lot over the last 2 years, which has been worked in our favor, but it could have also been the reverse. The other thing you want to try and identify is what trends are taking place. And I think this is really, really important that all of us do that, you know, that we really get an understanding of, for example, what new products are selling, what new services are selling, you know, different things that are taking place. I mean, there's been massive changes in every industry, whether you're selling cars or running seminars like me, or in the travel business, whatever, there's been a lot of change. And I think a lot of this change is actually permanent. I think a lot of the change that that's taken place after the last couple of years is permanent. But as a business owner, one of the things you want to try and identify is what trends are taking place in your industry, and more importantly, what can you take advantage of? So this guy I'm speaking about that I said I was going on a walk every morning with, he moved into the education business. Had never been in the education business, but over the last 2 years, moved into the education business because he identified a problem, identified an opportunity, and that's the reason he did that. And the only reason he did that is he realized what was taking place in the market. So what trends are taking place in your industry? What are your goals for the next 12 months? You know, I always set goals, always, every single year. And I've done this for many years. And the reason I do this is because it works for me. It really does. it works for me, and it keeps me focused and on track. So I set goals for every single part of my life, my business part, my traveling, my education, those type of things. I will set goals for, and I encourage you to do the same. And then what you want to do is you want to create objectives. So let me explain what I mean here. Is let's say your goals are to do $1 million in 2022. So if your goal is to do $1 million, and I know why I'm using this $1 million over and over again, but let's just say that's your goal. Then you got to say, what do I need to do? And that we can break up into objectives. What do I need to do to achieve that goal? Maybe update my website, maybe improve my search engine optimization, maybe employ somebody new, whatever it is. The more specific you are, the better it is. So the idea here is to create structure. And what I recommend to business owners that they do is that they create 12-month goals, so for the full year. And then what you want to do is you want to pick areas of focus. So every 90 days, what you want to do is you want to pick areas of focus. Let's use an example. Let's say that from now, for the first quarter of this year, you're going to work on your administration. Maybe you don't have the best bookkeeping system, or you don't have the best accounting system, or you don't have the right accountant, or whatever it is. Then you will focus on those areas, because every single one of us on this webinar, doesn't matter how well our business is running and operating, we know that there are certain sections of our business that if we improve that, it would improve our overall business. So what you want to try and do is you want to try and identify areas in your business that need work. And for some of you, it might be, for example, your website. It needs to be updated, it needs to be more customer friendly. You need to add an e-commerce. It's almost like those things that you know you need to do, but you don't find time to do it. And we're going to be very, very careful with this, because what happens is these things keep becoming issues that we don't deal with. And as a business owner, you and I know that when we get those sections of our business right, it's going to improve. I mean, I can remember a few years ago, one of my employees, Heather, she was a superb marketer. And one of our three things that we were going to focus on at the time was our customer service. I just bought out my partner, I just bought out his shares, and he used to always deal with the customers. The problem he had was that he'd overpromise and underdeliver. And I am the reverse. I rather underpromise and overdeliver. So that's one of the things that we focused on. And in a very short period of time, we achieved that. We achieved that goal or that target of ours to improve our customer service. The next thing you should be doing every quarter is measuring your success. So what you want to do is you want to create KPIs, which is a word I don't like using, but these are what it stands for is key performance indicators. So for example, you might say, you know what, I want to improve our gross profit margin from 23% to 25. Or I want to increase our average sales per customer from $17 to $21. Or I want to improve our net profit from 8% to 10%. Do you understand? So these are all little measurements you can set for yourself. And then the idea here, or the plan, the process here is once you develop a KPI. Let's use an example. Let's say one of your KPIs is to improve your gross profit margin from 8% to 10%. What the action or the plan is to achieve that KPI is what you need to do. So for example, if you want to improve your net profit, there are a couple of things you can do. You can improve your cost of sales. You can reduce your overhead expenses. Do you see what I'm saying? So once you've created the KPI, then you can create a plan of what you need to do. So that's the idea. So every quarter, and let's say this is the beginning of quarter one, you want to pick 3 areas that you're going to be focusing on. You want to set yourself some benchmarks or KPIs or key performance indicators or targets, if you want to call that. And then you want to plan how you're going to achieve that. And I think this is a really, really good way of succeeding as a business owner, is you set yourself a 5-year goal, you set yourself targets to achieve every year, and then you create a plan that involves a quarterly action that you need to take place. And I think this is really, really simple, really, really simple, but very effective. And I think that's the key. Things do not have to be complicated to be effective. I was just reading somebody's question there. They were saying, what are KPIs? Key performance indicators. Basically, targets you're going to set yourself is the simplistic way to think about it. Now, what you want to do is you want to look at each section of your business. So each division or each department, or even if you a one-person business, I think this is a worthwhile exercise. What you want to do is you want to look at the different areas of your business, and you want to say, what do we need to do when it comes to improving, for example, in this case, our sales and marketing. And one of the first exercises you need to work on, which a lot of us really struggle with, especially in the early stages of our business, because somebody like me will say, you've got to focus. You've got to focus. You've got to find the ideal customer for you, and you've got to focus on that, and that's how you're going to make money. The problem some of us have in the early stages of our business is we don't do that, and we survive. We don't do that. We sell to everybody, we market to everybody, and we survive. And then somebody like me comes along and says, no, you've got to find an ideal customer, and you've got to focus on those. And then you start thinking, no, maybe this guy doesn't understand my business. People will typically say, I do understand. The most successful businesses that I've worked with over the last 25 years know who the ideal customer is. That doesn't mean they don't sell to people that come and buy their stuff, but they focus their marketing and new products and new services and things like that on a specific target market. So they've got a clear idea of what customer they're going after. They want to be known, for example, as the premium nut supplier in the region, whatever it is. It's a position that they take. And I think that's very, very important that you as a business owner actually go through your database, go through the orders that you've shipped the last year or 2 years, and try and come up with trends, try and come up with similarities, try and come up with groups of people that are buying your product or service. The next thing you want to do, which is a very, very important exercise, and something that we should do every single year, is look at our business and try and write down what benefits do we offer our clients. So for example, when our customer has an option between buying from us or buying from our competitors, why would they come to us? What benefit do we offer? And you've got to be very, very careful with this, because often, business owners will say, well, because we got great customer service, our prices are good, and our products and services are good. And that could be true, and it should be true. But I don't think that's enough, because somebody else will come into the business, do exactly the same as you, and take your customers away. And this is why it's very, very important. And you should do yourself a favor, even when you're walking around, doing a bit of shopping or whatever it is, and realize, why do you buy from certain businesses? And you will pay more. You'll justify. You'll say because it's convenient, or because their customer service is good, or because they're experts in the field, or whatever it is. And I want you to think about this, because even in our business, what we do, there are a lot of people that do it and probably do it cheaper than us. But here's the thing, our customers come to us not because we're the cheapest, but usually because we're the most reliable, we finish our projects on time, we take over the whole project for them, they don't have to worry about it, and we're small business experts. Do you see what I'm saying? You're trying to identify things that differentiate you from just the run-of-the-mill supplier. The next thing you want to think about is, how are you going to generate leads? So over the next 12 months, how are you going to generate leads? And this is when you start thinking about different marketing tools. For example, maybe you're going to go to trade shows. Maybe you're going to run webinars. Maybe you're going to create content. Whatever it is, you've got to decide. And for some of us, it's really simple. We're going to network more, reach out to people more, because I still think that is one of the best ways to generate leads. And others are going to be a little bit more sophisticated, or maybe use a bunch of online and offline things. But it's something you need to think about as a business owner. The next thing you want to think about is how you're going to convert these leads. Here's the reality. Even in our case, we put out proposals very, very often. But usually the way we get these projects is by reaching out to people, by asking for responses and things like that. So it's really about converting those leads. Putting out proposals is part of the process, but part of the sales is actually getting people to make the purchasing decision. And then the other thing I would do if I was you is create a marketing plan, a really simple marketing plan, writing down exactly what you're going to be doing over the next 12 months to grow your business. And it can be really simple things. For some of us, it's going to be a little bit more sophisticated and fancy. And for others, it's going to be, going to a networking event once a month, or sending out 10 emails every week, or whatever, posting content on social media, whatever it is. But you want to create a plan. And that's the idea, is you want to create a bit of structure. And then the other thing you can think of is, for example, your branding and positioning. And again, this is something that maybe we don't focus on, but maybe it's something we need to work on. For example, maybe we're going to improve the branding on our website, or maybe we're going to work on our Facebook page. Or a very good example, I have a nephew that runs quite a successful business, but one of his challenges was really positioning himself as an expert in the field. So what he did is we actually got a very good writer that we use, and but very expensive, not typically for small business, just so you know. Anyway, so they reached out to him, and he rewrote all of their content on their website. And he said it was just like mind-blowing, because this person got across exactly what they were doing. So, and these are the type of things you want to be doing, is if you want to position yourself or brand yourself, sometimes, working on your branding, working on your customer service, working on your website, working on your logos, working on your email campaigns, all of those things, will increase your visibility among your potential customers and improve your branding. So that could be one of your strategies for the next year. So here's a little exercise you can do, is what customers and prospects do you plan to focus on? So over the next 12 months, what customers are you going to go after? That's really what you want to decide. And again, remember, you can change your mind, because you're going to update this every 90 days. But I think being strategic about it and saying, well, you know what, we're going to go after more larger companies, or we're going to try and get more government contracts, or we're going to try and bid on. Do you see what I'm saying? But the idea here is to be a little bit more strategic. Then write down, what unique benefits do you offer your competitors? And if you don't have any, this is a problem. Just so you know, this is a problem that you need to address immediately. So maybe the way you address this is get your staff around a boardroom table and discuss this with them. What are the benefits have customers said that you offer that makes you unique? And let's say you don't have employees, what you could do then is speak to your customers and ask them, say to them, why do you buy from us? You have the option to buy from a whole lot of other people. Why do you buy from us? And then they'll start, hopefully sharing with you the reasons they buy from you. And those are the things you want to identify as your benefits. And then the other decision we need to make as business owners, and again, this is all the exercise you're going to be doing, is how are you going to communicate with these existing customers and get new prospects? So what is your strategy? What are you going to be doing? Is it email marketing? Is it going through your database and phoning these people? Is it sending them a letter? What is the plan? And that's really what you want to think about. When it comes to your operations, this is a really key part of scaling a business, because as your business grows, what happens is you need to put systems and processes in place. And I've got a really interesting client that has recently brought in a general manager type person. And this is the first time they've done it. They've been in business for over 20 years. And I can already notice the difference. I've met this guy once or twice, an engineering type of guy, but really his focus is on creating systems. His focus is on creating process, and you can already see it because, for example, last year, he doubled their revenue on a special section of their business. And I said to him, what did you do? He said, it's not much, not really what we did is what, we didn't do anything different, but what we did do is we did the right things. And sometimes that's all you need to do in business, is just do the right thing. For example, send out that email regularly, create that newsletter, follow up and things like that. Sometimes to grow a business, it's just about doing those operational things right. Because what I found working with this client quite a few years is that often the environment felt chaotic. There was just like too much going on. Everybody was overwhelmed. People were not doing things on time, which is a big, big problem. And this is not such a problem when you're a one-person business. But when your business starts going to 5 people or 10 people or 20 people, or in their case, 300 people, when you have chaos, it is a problem. It's going to cost you a lot of money. So some of the things you need to think about as a business owner is how are we going to run our business? What is the administration things? How are we going to invoice people? And if those things are okay, don't deal with it. But if they're not okay, you need to address it. For example, collecting accounts receivable, following up, all of those general things. If you don't give people guidelines, they don't know. And this could create chaos, especially as your business grows. The next thing is key infrastructure. Maybe for some of us on this webinar is we need to upgrade our equipment, maybe upgrade your computers. Or in my case, we use camera equipment and lights and all those things. Maybe that's what we need to do, is to upgrade our infrastructure to make us more effective, improve the quality of our product, and allow us to get more projects. Again, these are the type of things you need to think about. If you're producing anything, your production, your quality control, you need to make sure that these things are being produced and being shipped to your clients, your customer services, and your purchasing and expense control. So the idea here is to go through every single section of your business from the admin part or the operations part and really analyze, are we doing this the best way? And it's fascinating when you start doing this. I think of a client of mine where we realized that they start with throwing away a very simple thing, blocks of ice at the end of every day, and it was costing the business a fortune. So what they did is they just changed the way they did things, and it saved them a lot of money. So it's little things like that that make a big difference. When it comes to your people, and here's the thing, often when you speak to very small business owners, you think, well, I don't have a team. And that's not true. Every one of us has a team. Even if we are one-person business, we may have somebody, for example, that does our accounting. We may have somebody that does our bookkeeping. We may have somebody that does our social media, whatever it is. These are all part of our team. And our job as business owners is to make sure that we get the right team. And getting the right team, I think going forward, more and more, it's going to be about employing self-employed people or contractors. I think that is the future of employment. And we've seen it, especially over the last couple of years where so many people have resigned. I think the new growth is going to be on people working for themselves, and you and I are going to employ these people to do different things. So when we bring new people on, whether it's an accountant, whether it's a bookkeeper, whatever it is the hiring process is very, very important. We got to make sure that we organize, that we ask good questions, that we interview them, and we get the right person. I can't tell you how many times business owners have come to me and said to me, I need a new accountant. And I said, what's wrong with the last one? And they said, well, we just took them on. We didn't know what we were looking for. And that is the problem sometimes, is we find somebody that's qualified and we assume they're brilliant. And you've got to be very, very careful of that. Is, you want to find the right person to work with you that fits in with the way you operate your business, that fits in with your culture. All those type of things are quite an important thing. The other thing you want to do on a regular basis is evaluate your employees. I mean, if you've got permanent employees, you want to do staff evaluations, but so should you evaluate all your contractors. And maybe doing this every 90 days is the solution. When it comes to your contractors and employees, having all the legal stuff is an important thing. I don't know if any of you are like me, but every now and then I'll go to bed at night and I'll worry about something in my business that's not done properly. And usually those are not the most important things, but when they're done, they make me sleep better at night. And those are the type of things you need to work on in your business on an ongoing basis. And finally, and most importantly, is how you're going to train and develop your employees. I believe that the future of keeping employees is treating them really, really well, and then enabling them to improve and to educate themselves and to become better at what they do. Because all of us know this already, if you've run a small business for a while, is that most of your employees don't stay with you forever. They're going to be there 3 years, maybe 5 years, and then they're going to move on. But in that time, you want to get the right people and you want to train and develop them. So as a business owner, when you're looking for somebody new, whether it's a contractor or employee, you want to know what skills or traits do you need for this person to have to fit into your company. And if there's any employees that you have that work for you already that are really, really good, you almost want to clone them. And what do I mean by that? Is you want to understand, why is this employee so good? And you want to try and identify those traits that they have and find other people like them. And that is the way we grow our business. And maybe, for example, you create an employee accountability chart or something like that. So this is where you put an organizational chart on a wall and then look at each employee that works with you. What do they do? What is their responsibilities? And how things can improve in their different functions. So hopefully, I don't even know how many slides I've got, but hopefully we're near the end. So I'm going to try and move through this quickly. The next really important part of your business are your financials. As a business owner, it doesn't matter how much revenue I make every year. The key here is to build a profitable business. And I've got to understand that. And the only way you can determine how profitable your business is by reporting. So every year, by law, you have to produce an income statement which you deliver, which your accountant submits to the revenue department. So as a business owner, you want to create reports during the year to tell you how you're doing. So things like, for example, how much revenue we're doing, what's our cost of sales, what is our profitability, what are our top selling products, top selling services, those type of things you want to create. And most of you will probably have this in your accounting system. For those of you that have an e-commerce platform, it's usually in the back end of it, you can get a lot of analytics. When it comes to your accounts receivable, this is a big problem for a lot of small businesses. Some of us are really good at collecting money, others not so good. Some of us are too friendly, others like me are sometimes too strict. But the idea is you may decide, in 2022, I'm actually going to outsource that to somebody to do because maybe I'm not really good at doing that. So these are some of the decisions you need to make. When it comes to your accounts payable, that may be another strategy. Maybe this is creating anxiety for you and not allowing you to generate revenue and sales. And I see this with a lot of business owners. The admin, the collecting the money, the running part of the business is not their favorite thing. And maybe finding or outsourcing that to a bookkeeper is the solution. When it comes to your budgeting and planning, I mean, every one of us on this webinar, if you've been to any of my webinars before, you know that I tell you that every year you've got to create a cash flow forecast. But that is so basic, but it is very, very important. As a business owner, that I manage my cash. A lot of us have survived these last 2 years because we managed our cash flow. That's the only reason. And there have been times over the last 2 years that even I, as an experienced business owner, have been a bit anxious about cash flow. Why? Because this is a massive event taking place. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is not a secret, but inflation has been really, really high these last few months. So what happens is we sell inventory now. The new inventory we buy is more expensive than the previous inventory. So we got to lay out more money, or we got to take out less money out of our businesses so that we can finance inventory. This is a really important thing. The other thing that you need to do, which is a very good strategy, is that you plan your taxes. Sit down with your accountant and discuss when you're going to pay, in advance, for example, payments, and all of those different things are things that you can manage, and something that if you deal with early on can be really helpful as a business owner. So here's maybe an exercise all of you can work with, is what numbers are you going to measure over the next 12 months? Maybe list 5 different numbers, maybe sales per customer, revenue per department, gross profit per department, whatever it is, because depending on the nature of your business, the numbers will be different. But you make the decision and maybe get a bit of help from your accountant and work with that. Then what you want to be doing is, as a business owner, and if you have people working with you, you want to try and identify every 90 days, what are the obstacles that are stopping you from growing your business? So let's say you're doing $50,000 and your goal is to do $100,000. What are the things that are stopping you from doing that? And you want to write these things down. So, maybe it's upgrading your website, maybe it's buying new technology, maybe it's raising finance, whatever it is, you want to try and identify these things. And the other thing you want to try and identify are what are the issues that need to be addressed to help you grow your business. So you want to think about the obstacles and you want to think about the different issues. Because once you write everything down, then you can start working through it. Let's say, for example, you realize that one of them is you do not have enough money to grow your business. Okay, so that's the obstacle, that's the challenge, that's the issue. Then what you can do is you can work on solving that issue. Maybe, for example, look at getting a government loan, or maybe, for example, look at raising finance on your home or whatever it is. So things like issues would be lead generation, lead conversion, client repeat business, revenue growth, financial reporting. But you see what I'm saying? These are some of the issues that you and I go through as business that hold us back. So if I was you, I would create a folder or a binder, and every single time you think about something, and usually this is in the middle of the night, or I don't know, while you're out on a walk or whatever it is write down the things that are stopping you from building a successful business, and then create a plan. And I understand that some of them are not immediately solvable. So some of these challenges will take a bit of time, but the fact that you are aware of them, I think, is the key thing. So being aware of what is stopping you is the idea, yeah. The next one is your systems. It's the way you do things in your business. And I'm obsessive when it comes to systems. With everything I do, I was having a discussion this week with my son, and he was saying to me, you've got the whole year planned out. I said, that's the way I operate. And it's the only way I can operate. I like structure, I like systems, I like processes, and really simple things that you can do. For example, I run a program for retailers. And one of the things, if you've ever been retail, is there are certain things that are standard. For example, the way you merchandise your shelves, when you open the store in the morning, when you turn the lights on, where you get the cash from, all of those things. And usually we'd encourage people, or we'd ask people to memorize those things. You'd have an employee and say, when you start in the morning, don't forget to put on the lights, turn off the alarm, take the float out of the safe, and then put in the cash register, whatever it is. Instead of memorizing these things, just write them down. It's a really, really good habit, is you write these things down, and then you don't have to memorize them. And then the important thing is that, let's say, for example, I'm a new employee, and I'm going to be opening your store tomorrow. You just give me the opening checklist. It sounds very simplistic, but it solves a big problem where your employees keep coming to you and ask you, what should I do now? Which is one of the problems we have as business owners. The next thing is step-by-step instructions. And this is a really good habit. And this is going to happen to you every now and then. You're going to have a meeting with somebody, you're going to have a discussion, you're going to understand one thing, and they're going to understand something else. And this happened to me recently. And it's really, really interesting that you solve that by putting in instructions. And every single thing that you do, you've learned somewhere. So the idea here is to take instructions, write them down, so that the next person that does this job does it just as well as you. So for example, if I'm baking cookies tomorrow morning, I bake them just as well as you because I read the instructions. Any written policies, for example, any templates that you use, any instructional videos, all of these things, you want to standardize them and makes it easier for you to run your business. So what I recommend you do, again, another little exercise, is write down maybe 5 different processes that you're going to improve your business, maybe your sales, your marketing, your financial. But the idea here is to create a plan. So here's your annual plan. Firstly, set 5 business goals, very simple, specific goals that you're going to be setting. Set 3 quarterly goals. So 5 goals that you're going to achieve over the year, and then every quarter you allocate 3 more goals that you're going to work on. And I believe if you do this, you can build a successful business in 2022. So let me just summarize before I turn off the recorder. Firstly, have a very clear business vision. Identify your measurables. How are you going to measure success going forward? Set yourself a very clear 5-year goal. This is where we are now. This is where we want to be in 5 years' time. Set yourself quarterly benchmarks, targets, whatever you want to call it, every quarter. Focus on your marketing, your people, and your financials. I think it's very, very important. Create a list of issues that you need to address to help you grow your business. There are processes, there are people, there's money out there to help you do this. But if you don't know what the problem is, nobody can help you. Develop systems and processes. And I believe that every single one of us, taking this information that I shared with you this afternoon, we can create the best life for ourselves, and we can create the best possible business for ourselves. But it takes work, it takes effort, and you've got to start working on it now. And I believe if you do that, you're going to be very successful over the next 5 years.